The things that we argue the most about in society, which is race, religion, and politics, none of that mattered when it came to success. So I found myself thinking often about how deceived Black people are. And it's not just Black labeled people, okay? This is humanity. This is society that's being deceived. But there's a unique kind of deception that has been targeting the minds of Black labeled people. And it's impacting the way that they're raising their children. It's impacting the places that they live. It's impacting the career choices that they make. It's impacting every area of their life. And I believe that in today's day and age, the worst part is that it's impacting their mental health, their emotional health, and their spiritual health. And when I wrote The Black Child's Guide to Surviving America, it was my way of trying or doing my best in an attempt to unscramble America so that it can be more of a straighter path, one that was not provided for me, by the way, in terms to how to navigate all of these like landmines and pit holes and traps that are placed here. You follow? And I want to discuss some of that right now because I feel like it's necessary, because some people may never read the book. Some people genuinely aren't readers, but I feel like it's important, this piece of information, for me to share with the public. So here we go. So as a parent, do you think that it would be very beneficial for you to raise your child in an environment that has quality schools, low crime rates, and low poverty rates? I'm going to say that again. Quality schools, low crime rates, and low poverty rates. If you have any kind of common sense, you can already see that that's an excellent environment to raise your children in, right? Now, there's plenty of these environments scattered across America. And there's been this thinking that, oh, that type of environment only belongs to white people, okay? Hate to say it like this, but this is the thinking. This is the mantra that I've seen constantly repeated, and especially being force-fed to Black labeled people. Now, there's a saying that we always use in corporate America. I was in the finance field for a very long time, and it's success leaves clues, which means that you don't necessarily have to always try to figure things out. You can take a look at the pattern, because if you begin to observe and study the success, you would see the clues that are left by success, right? So now, as I stated before, these environments that have low crime rates, low poverty rates, and quality schools, they are scattered all across America, across each state, right? Across each region, whatever state you're in right now. So what are the clues being left in each one of these environments? Let me share it with you. So I hope you grab your pen and paper, get ready to write these points down, okay? Number one, 60% or more of the people in these environments are married. That's number one. And the reason this is so important, because sometimes I go into the comments, right? Like if someone posts something about marriage, especially these Black centered, what they call them, type of blogs or whatever it may be. And one of the things that will be said constantly is, especially when people talk about baby mama culture and things like that. But one of the comments that you constantly hear people say is like, well, the goal is in marriage for everyone, etc., right? But it's a perverse type of thinking, because what is the outcome that you're measuring that you feel like this is important for everyone? So number one, again, talking about America, 60% or more are married. Number two is that 60% or more have a bachelor's degree or higher, right? Really higher for the most part. Number three, the household income is $150,000 or more. Now, this is important because that means that, one, you should be getting a degree that's helping you earn that type of money. Well, especially if you live in an inner city or near the inner city, oftentimes the degrees that are discussed are not degrees that are going to help you earn $150,000 or more. And Black labeled people overwhelmingly get degrees that are low paying. So that means you have the high cost of college that you had to pay for these degrees, but then you don't have the income to support living in an environment that supports your goals, your dreams, your families, etc. So imagine being a married person. You went and got a degree that earns you $35,000. Your husband, right, or your spouse got a degree that earns him $50,000. You guys are making $85,000 a year, but you still feel like you're struggling because you have not hit that $150,000. So you've checked off the boxes, but there's fine lines there. There's details, right? The devil's in the details. And it's these details that I really research so that I can make sure I'm able to share that and put that information on paper to help the next generation, especially my children. Now, number four, about 90% on average of the people that live in those communities have a white collar job. 90% which is crazy, because some of us were raised or have lived in communities where 90% of the people that lived there were blue collars. And this is not to put down blue collar workers at all, okay? My dad is a blue collared worker. However, it does not change the fact that statistically, there is a clear line between environments that provide for your children, quality schools, low crime rates, and low poverty rates, and whether or not you're a white collar or blue collar worker. Plain and simple. Okay. And then number five, The average household value, now this is with the exception of states like New York, New Jersey, and California, but the average household value is about 500,000. Okay, so when you look at cities or when you look at states like Texas, Georgia, Florida, etc., even though the market has been changing currently, but $500,000 is the average home value in these particular communities. And lastly, 40% of the households in these communities have children. 40%. Okay. Guys, it does not matter what region of the United States you're in. It doesn't matter if you're in the Northeast. It doesn't matter if you're in the Midwest. It doesn't matter if you're in the West or the South. This applies. You can go whatever state you're in. You can look up the best communities in your state. And I promise you, success leaves clues. This that I just shared with you, these 6 characteristics, it will apply to that community. And it won't be off but by a few points, if that. Try it. And the reason this is so important to note is because what type of messaging has the Black label community been receiving? Has it been being told that marriage is important? Getting degrees in higher education is important? Obviously, the money part has been important for many people, but it's talking about it in the terms of like skipping a lot of steps or becoming an actor or some kind of fame or creating some kind of business that's going to turn you into a billionaire overnight. Practical steps that can be applied every single day to the average Joe Schmo. Is there a system that has been taught to the Black community where they can have success and live a comfortable life? That's the question. And you know what the most interesting part about this is that the things that we argue the most about in society, right, which is race, religion, and politics, none of that mattered when it came to success. There was no common characteristics when it came to race, religion, and politics. There were communities, the Asian population makes up about 6% in America. There are communities where the Asian population makes up about 28, even some as high as 30+% in these particular communities. Because again, you're congregating to the area that has low crime rates, low poverty rates, and quality schools. So now the conversation is, does that not matter to people in the Black community or the Black labeled community? Does low crime rates, low poverty rates, and quality schools, is that not a concern for us? I say the many of us, it is a concern. The issue is that we're not being taught the proper messaging and also the proper systems to place ourselves in that type of environment. Number one, marriage is important. And this is coming from someone that has been married, okay, and has been divorced. But it has not changed my mind on how important marriage actually is. Number one. Number two, getting a degree is important, but what's more important is the kind of degree that you get. And these are conversations that really need to be had because they won't just benefit us, they'll benefit the next generation. And that's what's extremely important to me personally, is placing the next generation on the path to success. Because it's one thing, guys, to start off on the wrong track. It's another thing to live your life being led astray on the wrong track. And then to die on the wrong track as well. No, I'm sorry. I can't have that. But I can tell you right now, if you are suffering right now, or if you feel like you're having a really hard time, whether it be in your relationship, in your life, etc., look at that list and also take into consideration what part of metropolitan area that you live in, because that's another part that the census shares. There's the outside the principal city, and I'm not going to go into that now. The outside the principal city or outside your metropolitan area, that is always the most thriving, right? And inside the principal city or inside metropolitan area, that's what's always suffering. So if you have, let's say, these 6 characteristics, but you're also inside the principal city, you're going to have a hard time because of what your children are exposing to. That's why I say pay attention to the trifecta, which is low crime rates, low poverty rates, and quality schools, because that will naturally guide you to the North Star of placing your children in the right environment. And the reason I say focusing on whether or not the children are thriving in that particular area is because any place that centralizes its focus on making sure children thrive always does well and builds stability. Because when you focus on making sure that the children thrive, we're still going to have fun as adults. We're still going to do the things that we want to do. But it pours the right thing into the next generation because they're going to be the next citizens. They're going to be the next people that are essentially running this community. So when you build an environment that what they're feeding off of blesses them, they bless the community. But what if they feeding off of is poison to them, they're going to be a curse to that community. It is what it is. So I hope this helps. Let's talk about it in the comments. If you've thought about this already, let's discuss it. I know that I'm on the right track because Amazon has already blocked my book. Like, you cannot search it in the search bar. I know it's because of how accurate this is. But the link is still in my bio. It's still in my description. If you like a copy, it's the direct link to the Amazon copy. But if you search in Amazon, you won't be able to locate it. But anyways, let's talk about it. Let's discuss it more.